Welcome everybody to week 7 previews. The commission and we got our wires crossed, and I thought he was going to create the PowerPoints, but he assumed that I was going to create them. So we're going to go back to old school way of doing the previews and kind of just showing you the teams, the games on NFL.com. First up, we have Fighting Geese versus the Six. Fighting Geese is 2-4, ranked 15th. Milan and the Six is 3-3, ranked 14th. And kind of looking, they're both ranked 14th and 15th, and looking at their points for, they're right next to each other. Milan has 3 more points for than Susie, and he also has 5 more points against than Susie here. So it's definitely a close match between the two teams. They're evenly matched, but kind of looking through the rosters here, you got Justin Fields playing Tampa Bay. You got Winston playing Seattle. She does have Rashard Penny, who should be coming back this week. Landry as well. She does have Justin Jefferson on the bye, where the Six does have Ezekiel Elliott on the bye and Jared Cook. Looking at the two teams, their actual active roster, Gibson, I know he was injured. He got injured last week, but he did come back and play. Javonte Williams, Eli Mitchell versus Coleman. Penny, as we talked about, Brightwell. And, looking at the two teams, honestly, to me, the match comes down to the game's going to come down to Winston versus Fields. And I originally had, let's see, who did I originally have winning this match? I originally had the Sixth winning this match. And I believe, let's take a look. The commission did send me over his notes on who he had to win this. And he also had the Sixth winning this. And I agree with him. I think the Sixth is going to be a pretty close match, as the two teams are. But the Six is going to squeak out a win here and become 4-3. Next up, we have Fallen Misfits versus Too Good for a Name. Looking at the two teams, Misfit does have the most points against in the league versus Too Good for a Name, and he is towards the bottom. I believe he is ranked 13th in points against. About 160 points separate the points against. Looking at the points for the two teams, they're pretty close to each other. Too Good for a Name does have 33 more points for than Fallen Misfits. The Fallen Misfits is 2-4, as you would expect somebody who does have the most points against. Too Good for a Name is 3-3. Looking at the two rosters, we do have Teddy Bridgewater versus Cleveland, Derek Carr versus Philly. Both obviously, I think Derek Carr is going to put up a lot of points this week. Patterson's definitely going to run over Miami. And the issue for Fallen Misfits is, can the Philadelphia wide receivers and Gainwell actually get points? If those 4 guys can get points for him, he will make this a close game. I don't think it happens. I think that he should look at rebuilding, or I should look at rebuilding since this is my team. Originally, I had, let's see, the commission had Fallen Misfits winning. I had, let's see, who do I have? Who did I have? I also had Misfits winning originally. I'm actually going to change my pick. I am going to go Too Good for a Name. I think Too Good for a Name is going to score like 100 more points than he usually does against me, and he's going to get that W. Next up, we have BC Lions versus Sueño. BC Lions is 3-3. He is ranked 12th. Sueño is 4-2, and he is ranked 3rd. Kind of looking at the two teams, you got Teddy Bridgewater playing Chicago, Lamar Jackson playing Cincinnati. Both those two quarterbacks are going to score a lot of points, in my opinion. Kind of looking at the two lineups, Henderson and Hubbard and Ty Johnson versus Connor, McNichols, and Penny. Definitely give me Sueño's running backs there. Looking at the wide receiver core, you got Gage, who's going to come back and play, Metcalf, Hinton versus Collins, Hill, and Hopkins. It's honestly between those 6 guys. They're pretty close to me, in my opinion. I might take Sueño's wide receivers just a little bit over BC Lions. Looking at the matchups here, BC Lions does have 2 tight ends versus Sueño, who does have an empty spot for a tight end. Scrolling down and looking at why, he does have Conklin, who is on a bye. That is why he has a missing spot. And going to BC Lions, he does have Diggs also on a bye. Parham is also on a bye. He's been heating up recently as well. Looking at the points for Swahinu and BC Lions are ranked 6th and 7th in points for unfortunately for Swahinu for BC Lions, BC Swahinu does have about 42 more points for than BC Lions. Switching over to points against, BC Lions is ranked about 10th versus Swahinu. He is ranked about 14th or 15th points against. But even though they're about 5 points, 5 teams, separating only about 37 points difference in their points against. Looking at the two teams, the commission originally picked Swahinu to win. I originally picked it. I actually picked BC Lions to win this, and I'm actually going to stick with Stan and BC Lions here. I think he's going to find a way to win here. I think it's going to be a good game, but BC Lions is going to get the win. Next up, we have Bare Naked Ladies versus Deuce Bombers. Originally, when I looked at this, I thought this was going to be a close match. I did have BC Deuce Bombers going 3-10. Obviously, he is proving that projection wrong, but I thought a lot of his games would be pretty close. And looking at this one, I also thought it would be pretty close as well, until Ryan and Deuce Bombers decided to sell his entire team, and he's probably going to lose now. Kind of looking at the two teams, unfortunately for Bare Naked Ladies, he does have Glennon as his starting quarterback. Damian Williams is on COVID. He's still on COVID, so he might not get off in time to start to play on Sunday, versus Deuce Bombers, who has a fullback running in, Ricard, JJ Taylor. I don't think he actually had a rush last week. So even with the Glennon starting as quarterback for Bare Naked Ladies, looking at the two teams, let's just call it what it is. Bare Naked Ladies is going to win this. He's probably going to win this pretty easily as well. I did have Bare Naked Ladies originally winning. Let's see. Commission also has Bare Naked Ladies originally winning, and that is what's going to happen here. Next up, we have the Age Crew versus Templars. So looking at the two teams, Templars did get his first win last week, so that means he is not 0-6 like some other teams are out there, which is surprising. Some teams that means they have to get onto the win column, because now that we don't have that playoff where everybody voted against it, somebody else might drop down who's in last place. So Robert, he is 1-5. He's ranked 19th versus Adrian, who is 4-2, ranked 5th. Looking at the two teams, Gallup is in the lineup for Templars, but he's on a bye. Tua, they are talking about how Deshaun Watson can be traded to Miami this week. Does that trade include Tua? Will he go to Houston? How will he play in Houston? Malcolm Brown, he is also on the mend. Scrolling through the teams, let's go check the buys real quick. Prescott, Madison, CeeDee Lamb are also on the buy for Templars. Looking at the Age Crew, we have Thielen, Claypool, Heward, a couple other of his Joe Sherbert on a buy for him. So originally looking at it, this thing could be a close match, but let's just be honest, Templars teams is not that good, especially when half his team is on a bye. He should not win. He did win last week, but originally the commish had the Age Crew winning this. Let's take a look and see who I had winning this matchup as well. I had the Age Crew winning as well, and I am going to stick with that as well. And Templars is going to go 1-6, and hopefully the team that is 0-5 or 0-6 currently gets the win. Next up, we have Canadian Guy versus Green Lightning. Let's go ahead and take a look at their lineups here. Canadian Guy is 4-2, he's ranked 6, versus Green Lightning, who is 3-3 and ranked 11th. Looking at the two teams, Patrick Mahomes playing Tennessee. Let's be honest, Mahomes is probably going to throw 4 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions there. Zach Wilson against New England. We all saw what Zach Wilson did last time against New England. I think he got some negative points. Let's actually take a look and see how many negative points he did get. Or NFL.com doesn't want us to show us, but I'm pretty sure he got -2, 5, some amount of points negative there. Looking at the two teams' running back rooms, we do have Latavius Murray, McKissick, and Hines playing against Ingram, Bell, and Gaskins. And honestly, I think Le'Veon Bell is going to get some more rushes than he did last week. To me, the two running back rooms are even at best, maybe favoring Green Lightning just a little. Looking at the wide receiver room, we do have Beckham, Shepard, and Myers versus Parker, Davis, and Westbrook in Hine. And honestly, let's be honest, Canadian guys' wide receivers are just a little bit better. Tight end room, OJ Howard and Mark Andrews versus Jasicki and Ian Thomas. Let's call it what it is. It's probably a wash, if not favoring Green Lightning just a little bit. Then this is where I think this game is going to be won. You got T.Y. Hilton, Mike Evans, and Dervene versus Goodwin, Montgomery, and Homer. And honestly, give me Canadian guys flex all day long. But the Canadian guy does need to figure out how he can pick up a kicker so he can get some more points. But looking at the two teams, even NFL.com has Canadian guy winning this. The commission originally had the Canadian guy winning this to be Green Lightning as well. I originally had, and this is where having the commission here works out. I also had Canadian guy winning as well, and I'm going to stick with that. So everybody has Canadian guy winning, and we're going to move on. Next up, we have Storm playing. Who is she playing? The 12th man. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at this. Kristen Storm, 5-1, playing the 12th man, 2-4. Krista is ranked first overall, even with Russell Wilson getting injured. So what she's decided to do was to start Case Keenum, who against Denver, which if you looked at what Denver's defense did last week, it actually might be a good idea versus Tyrod Taylor, who's on IR. But I'm assuming if the 12th man has him in his lineup, he is scheduled to come back and play. Just kind of scrolling through the lineups. Derrick Henry versus KC. I think Derrick Henry is going to run all over them. Peyton Barber with Josh Jacobs back, and the way Kenyon Drake ran last week, I don't think Peyton Barber is going to get any points. But you do have the Gore for KC, who might get 1 or 2 rushes versus Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, and Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders got those garbage time rushing points against that prevent defense by Tampa Bay last week. Josh Jacobs is now playing Philadelphia this week, and he's going to get some points. And Aaron Jones is playing Washington, and he's going to get some points as well. Looking at, and honestly, give me the 12th man's running back room there. Looking at the wide receivers, we got Lockett, Higgins, and Rondale Moore versus Aguilar, Chris Moore, I believe that's his name, and Ayuk. And looking at those two, you got Aguilar playing the Jets, Moore playing Arizona, and Ayuk playing the Colts versus Moore playing Houston, Higgins playing Denver, and Lockett playing New Orleans. To me, I think the wide receiver room is a wash. Let's call it a wash. And then kind of looking at the tight ends, you got Goddard coming back from COVID. They just traded Zach Ertz, so Goddard is the number one. He's got to make that contract, so he would think he's going to want to ball out. And Gronk, if he does come back and play, is Gronk playing Chicago versus Griffin. I believe Croft is coming back to play, and Fursker playing KC. But let's be honest, they're probably not going to throw the ball. They're going to run the ball all over KC every play. That's what I would do. And you probably score every play. Looking at the flex, you have Bolden, who did not do much last week. Dallas, DJ Dallas, Swan versus Doolin, Smith, and Cole. Smith looked pretty good. I don't actually know who this Doolin guy is, so we're going to call him. I don't know who he is. And Cole, the flex rooms, looking at the points projected by NFL.com, which usually mean nothing. They're saying it's pretty even. The tie goes to the 12th man. And to me, you're looking at the 12th man. Let's see if he actually has a quarterback. He has Big Ben on the bye, so that's not going to help him. And if Tyrod Taylor doesn't play this week, I can honestly see the 12th man losing this easily. The commission originally had Storm winning this one, and I originally had Let's take a quick look. I had the Storm actually losing this one for her first loss of the season. And you know what? I'm going to stick with that. I think her team's too beat up right now to actually win. And I think the 12th man is going to get the W here. Next up, we have Billsy Bob to beat Billsy Bob versus Optimus Prime. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at this one. Billsy Bob 0-6, playing Justin and Optimus Prime 4-2. Kind of looking at the two teams, you got Matt Ryan, and I'm pretty sure everybody now knows how I feel about Matt Ryan, but he is playing Miami, so I think he will actually throw a few touchdown passes here. Versus Kyler Murray playing Houston, which he's also going to probably throw a couple, run for a couple. He's going to put up lots of points as well. Looking at the running back room, you got Goldman, Kamara, and Ronald Jones, who is a bum, versus Freeman, Collins, and Perrine. Even though Billsy Bob has Jones and Goldman playing, the two of the three guys on Optimus Prime side are also not that good. So let's call it a wash. Maybe favor Kamara. Maybe. And that's about it. Looking at the wide receiver room, you got Robbie Anderson, who actually finally scored a touchdown last week versus Preston Williams, I believe that is, and Jamar Chase versus Pascal, Devontae Adams, and AJ Green. Looking at the two rooms, obviously, give me Optimus Prime's wide receivers any day of the week, even with Jamar Chase on the other side. Looking at the tight ends, you got Mercedes Lewis, Hooper versus Rudolph and Janu Smith. Let's call it what it is. It's probably a wash. Hooper and Janu Smith are probably about even. And yeah, that's what that is right there. We'll call that even. Looking at the flex, you got Zay Jones, Porsche, and a blank spot for Billsy Bob versus Conley, Bourne, and Marquise Brown. And if Marquise Brown can catch the ball and not drop every pass that gets thrown to him, Optimus Prime has this in the bag easily. The commish originally picked Billsy Bob to win this. I picked, let's take a quick look. Billsy Bob. I also took Billsy Bob to easily win this one. I am going to change it for both of us. I am going to override the commish's projection, and Optimus Prime is going to win. And I'm going to change that for the commish as well, because that's what he probably would have done. Next up, we have Sabatica. Who is he playing? True North. Okay, let's take a quick look. The commish can't spell Sabatica Spartans. Commish is just writing some shorthand for me here. So we got Sabatica Spartans and True North playing. Looking at the two teams, you got Aaron Rodgers playing football team versus Sam Darnold playing the Giants. The Giants defense, it's actually a lot better than I actually thought they were going to be. I'm surprised how well they keep them in games, I guess you could say, versus Aaron Rodgers playing football team. Football team looked horrible last week. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do the same thing that Patrick Mahomes just did to them and throw all over them. So looking at the two, kind of scrolling through the wide receiver room, just take a look at everybody else's. Running back room, you got Mixon, Royce Freeman, and Sonny Michel versus Philip Lindsay, Damian Harris, and A.J. Dillon. Looking at the two teams, let's call it Mixon and Harris are probably about even, especially Harris is playing the Jets. Royce Freeman and A.J. Dillon are Sonny Michel and A.J. Dillon. That leaves Royce Freeman and Philip Lindsay to be compared. And I would rather have Philip Lindsay over Royce Freeman, but it's very close. It's probably going to be super close. I'm going to call the running back room a wash. Next up, looking at the wide receiver room, you got Van Jefferson, Sutton, and Watkins versus Sharp, Robinson, and Mac Hollins, who balled out last week in London playing the Jags. So looking at those two, honestly, I would rather have True North's wide receiver room than Sabatica Spartans wide receiver room any day of the week. Looking at the tight ends, you got Jack Doyle and Seals Jones versus Komet and Everett. I think with Tampa Bay, I think Komet's actually probably going to score a touchdown. I think the two tight ends on both teams are pretty even. It's going to be close. It's going to be. I'd rather have True North. Actually, with Jack Doyle, give me Spartans actually tight ends. They're looking at the flex. You got Josh Gordon, Mims, and Devonta Smith versus Elijah Moore, Pittman and Harris, who, with Zach Ertz coming there for a tight end is probably going to get 0 points. And looking at those two, it's super close. Maybe Josh Gordon gets into more action this week. Let's call it what it is. Let's say True North are better. Looking at this, let's see who the commish picked. Commish picked Sabatica Spartans to win. Originally, I picked, let's take a quick look. I actually took Sabatica Spartans to lose. And you know what? I'm going to stick with that projection. I think it's going to be a super close matchup, and Spartans is going to win. What did I say? True North, Spartans is going to lose. Spartans is going to lose. That's my projection. And now I just said they're going to win. They're going to lose. Next up, and finally, the game of the week, we have the Architect versus Horror Business. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at this one. The Architect 3-3, I believe he is flying up the points for board. I believe he is now ranked second, or he is ranked second, only 52 points behind Storm. And with Storm's super team getting injured, I think he will be able to surpass her in the next 2 weeks, if not this week, versus Horror Business, who is ranked fourth. But the point difference between the two is about 90 points, give or take, maybe about 89, I think it is. And then the points against for the two teams, let's take a quick look. As much as the Architect liked to complain that he's cursed and how all his points, he was getting all these points against, he has fallen down to the middle of the pack versus Horror Business, who is ranked seventh. And the difference between those two in points against is actually 24 points and some change. So those two teams are kind of close in points against. Horror Business is falling behind in points for. And kind of looking at the two teams, let's take a quick look. Why? Tannehill is playing KC, who I think they're going to run the ball so much there. He does have Booker. He does have Johnson. He does have Michael Carter. He has Kupp, Godwin, and Waddle. Those 6 guys right there for him alone are pretty scary versus Horror Business, who has Burkhead, Davis, Edmonds, Antonio Brown, Raymond, and Peoples-Jones. Peoples-Jones finally scored some touchdowns last week, but besides that, he hasn't been doing very good. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tight ends. You got Higbee and Font versus Waller and Who's Your Mama. Looking at those two, let's call it a wash. And then kind of looking at the flex, the scary people for the Architect are still coming up. He does have Mooney, Brian Edwards, and Rashad Bateman versus sorry, Deshaun Jackson, you ain't for real. Randall Cobb and Humphreys. Give me the Architects flex options all day long. Looking at the two teams, I believe the commish had Architect originally winning this. Let's take a quick look because he didn't put these games in any order. Yep, he originally had the Architect winning this, and I originally picked, let's take a quick look. I actually had Horror Business winning this originally, but I am going to change. I think the Architect team is so much better, even with Tannehill playing against Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz is playing in San Fran, but the rest of the team is scary for the Architect, and the Architect is going to win. And with that said, I believe that is all of the games that we talked about. Let's just take a quick look, making sure I did not miss any games because I've been going off the list the commission sent me. It looks like I hit them all. And it was great talking to you guys, and I'll see you guys later.